Jane wanted to see an attorney from each side here real quick. Just something like
Hey, Bruce, Rick, he wants to see us.
Okay. He said just one.
Oh, never mind, never mind. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. You got Michael
all right.
Good morning. All right, we're ready to proceed with the plaintiff's next witness.
Actually, Your Honor, we'll be taking the defense witness out of turn this morning because of some travel issues.
All right. As I told you earlier, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, witnesses may be called out of turn to accommodate witnesses, and that's what this is. You're hearing a defense witness out of turn. Okay.
Your Honor, the defendants call Renee Bonacontri. Good morning, ma'am. Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Sure. I'm Renee Bonacontri. I work for Marriott International Hotels.
And for the benefit of the court reporter, could you spell your last name?
Sure. B as in boy, UONINCONTRI.
What is Marriott International? What type of company is that?
We're a hospitality hotel company.
And could you tell the jury a little bit of the history of Marriott International and the Marriott family?
Sure. Well, it's a long history, family-run company. Started in 1927. The Marriotts came from Salt Lake City to Washington, D.C. area. Started initially with a root beer tamale stand, I think 5 cents each, and grew it to a restaurant company, eventually into hotels, and today over 4,000 hotels throughout the world.
What are some of the brands that fall under Marriott's umbrella?
We've got lots of brands. The Marriott hotels you're familiar with, Courtyard, Residence Inn, Ritz-Carlton, Autograph Collection, Edition Hotels, Spring Hill Suites, a whole portfolio of brands for different types of travelers.
What is your position at Marriott International?
I'm the Vice President of Sales and Customer Care Operations.
What does that job entail?
It basically means that I'm responsible for all of our engagement centers or our contact centers throughout Marriott. So if you were to call to make a reservation or had a customer care issue at a hotel or had a question about your Marriott Rewards balance, my teams would take care of those phone calls or emails.
And how many centers does Marriott International have across the United States presently?
Today we have 15.
And how many did they have in 2008?
In 2008, we probably had 12 or 13. We had 6 in the United States at that point.
And how long have you been in your current position?
Well, I've been with Marriott for 31 years. I've been in my current role in charge of all 3 of those groups I just described for about 3 years, but in charge of reservations for Marriott for about 8 years, 8 or 9 years, yeah.
And so you said reservations is one of the 3 areas that falls underneath your responsibility.
Yes, that's right.
And prior to becoming the Vice President of Sales and Customer Care Operation, what was your job title?
Vice President of Global Reservation Sales.
And was that the title that you were in back in 2008?
Yes, correct.
And what did that job entail?
That job entailed responsibility for the reservation contact centers throughout the world.
Does Marriott International maintain a 1-800 number that customers can call to make reservations?
Yes, there are multiple 800 numbers. Some are for different brands. Some are just overall 800 numbers. But you know, if you were to pick up a pen or Google Marriott, you're going to see multiple national 800 numbers for reservations, and all of those phone lines ultimately come into my team members in various locations.
And can a customer also call an individual hotel as well?
Yes, very often customer will call a hotel directly if they know specifically where they'd like to stay. Typically that phone call would go to the PBX operator or even the front desk. And then if they had a reservation inquiry, typically those calls would come into one of my team members in one of my offices.
Do some of the Marriott International franchise hotels have in-house reservation specialists?
Some do, yes. Very few.
Did Vanderbilt Marriott have those in-house people back in 2008?
No, they did not.
So if a reservation call was made to the Vanderbilt Marriott, would that have been something that would have been routed to one of your call centers?
That's correct. So that hotel did have a agreement in place with our office in Solon, Ohio, Cleveland, Solon, Ohio, and so their calls that came in for reservations were transferred directly to the team in Solon, Ohio.
And was Windsor and/or West End paying a fee to Marriott International for that service, that reservation call center service?
Yes, that's correct. They would pay a charge on a cost per reservation basis. So for every reservation we booked for them, they paid a cost.
And how would the Marriott International Reservation Center agents identify themselves when they were speaking to a guest who had been transferred from the Vanderbilt Marriott?
Well, if you think about it, the customer would call into the hotel, in that case get a PBX operator or a hotel operator, ask for reservations. They'd already greeted the guest as if they're at the Vanderbilt Marriott, right? And they asked for reservations, so the call would transfer to my team and they would answer the phone and say, "Good morning, this is Renee in reservations, how can I help you?" Because they've already been transferred to the hotel, and we're really basically the extension of the reservation office for the hotel at that point.
Was the customer at that point supposed to know that they were talking to someone in Ohio as opposed to Nashville?
They wouldn't know that. If they ask us, we would obviously tell them the truth. But in general, we know that's the hotel they wanted because that's the phone line it came in on. It was be identified as requesting that particular hotel. So we would just, answer the call and take it like that. So we wouldn't specifically say, and I'm in Solon, Ohio. We just happen to be the reservation office that services that particular hotel.
And when a customer center agent for Marriott International got a call such as that, was there a system that they would use to implement the information and actually make a reservation?
Sure, absolutely. The system that they make to input the information and make a reservation, we call it Pure, P-U-R-E, Pure.
And is that a computer-based system?
Yes, it's a Windows-based application, yes, computer system.
And what would be the process of once an agent has answered the phone, the individual has indicated they'd like to make a reservation at one of the Marriott franchise hotels, what would the agent then lead that customer through in order to, at the end of the call, have a confirmed reservation?
We would ask them if they, their particular rate they're looking for, if they're coming with a group or a convention or that type of thing. So understand the intent of the trip so we can offer them the right rate or the right room type. And then once we'd agreed on the rate or the room type, we take their information, name, address, credit card information, any special requests, and then at that point we give them a confirmation number at the end, and then the confirmation number goes out to them.
In the process of determining what the guest wanted on a room type, was the agent able to determine whether the hotel at issue had that availability?
Could you repeat that?
Sure. That was a complex question. Let me simplify it. If I'm sitting at the desk as an agent, can I tell that the Vanderbilt Marriott has availability for the room type that the guest is asking for?
Okay. In our reservation offices, we would never have the ability to see if a particular room is available or even guarantee a particular room. Many of the requests that we get, we simply note as a request, and we leave it to the hotel to make the final decision about whether that actual exact room is available for the customer. The things we can guarantee, the requests that we get that we can guarantee, are around bed type. So if you were to request 2 double beds because you're coming with your children, or 1 king bed, as an example, those are the type of things we can guarantee, because typically the hotel's revenue management people who input hotel room availability into the system put a particular amount to be guaranteed. So it's really on a first-come, first-served basis. So to simplify that, if a hotel has 50 king beds available, and I'm caller number 48 who requests a king bed, then I can take the request and I can actually guarantee it. I can say, yes, I can see that I have availability for a king bed type, and I can guarantee it to you. I can't tell you what room number or what exact room you'll get, but I can guarantee you'll get a room with 1 king bed.
And if they did not, if you were the 51st caller, could you request a king bed?
Yes, exactly. So if you were the 51st caller, it doesn't mean they won't get a king bed. It just means there were 50 removed from inventory to be able to be guaranteed. That 51st caller, we would say, I've got your request noted here. I see that you'd like a king bed. I'll note your request, and the front desk will do their best to get that for you at check-in. But at this point, I cannot guarantee that you'll get a king room.
And are the call center agents that you supervise provided training on how to utilize the Pure system?
Yes.
And assuming that the hotel at issue, let's just use the one in this case, the Vanderbilt Marriott, has availability, the agent at the end of that call can actually confirm and make that reservation, correct?
Can you say that again?
Sure. Assuming that the hotel has availability for the room type, for the night, for the rate that the guest wants, the agent sitting in Ohio can make that reservation and confirm it, correct?
Yes, they would confirm that they had a room at the hotel for that evening, and if the bed type that they requested was available, king bed in that example, we would guarantee that they will get a room with a king bed when they arrive, yes.
So once the bed reservation in Pure has been made, how is the actual hotel, in this case the Vanderbilt Marriott, notified of that reservation?
Once the reservation is made in Pure, our reservation system, it interfaces with the front desk reservation system, which is called PMS, so Property Management System. So when the reservation is made in Pure, it automatically takes that information, and now it appears in the front desk system. They're 2 different systems, but they talk to each other.
Can a front desk agent at a hotel like the Vanderbilt Marriott access the Pure system from the front desk?
hotels do not have Pure at the hotel. They do have another system that's the same information as Pure, call it Marcia. So, and it's not a typical system to have at the front desk. It's not needed for check-in. Some hotels, in my experience, some hotels might have a couple of people who know how to use Marcia and get into it, but it's not, honestly, it's not a very user-friendly system. Equate it to some of your experience in the old days, my time, with like the MS-DOT green screen systems where it's not a Windows-based, you type it in and it walks you through it. You have to remember dot, tick, slash this. It's really difficult to use and remember. So not a lot of people on property, if they don't have a reservations team, know how to access that information. That makes sense.
And would that same process that you described have been true in August and September of 2008?
Yes.
Here, what I'd like to mark as the first exhibit from Miss on property. I don't know where we left off yesterday as far as the numbers.
Next would be 18.
18. Thank you, Ron. Take a look at these 2 pages. Do you recognize these documents?
Yes.
And what are these?
These are screenshots of what our Pure reservation system first screen looks like when a reservation agent were to make a reservation.
So this screenshot would be what an agent in a call center outside of Cleveland, Ohio would see when they first start to make a reservation.
Yes, any of our reservation agents would use Pure, and this is what the system looks like. What it looks like today and what it looked like in 2008.
Okay.
Yes.
And you anticipated the next question. So this is exactly how it would have looked like in 2008 as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, publish that to the jury. I'd like to mark that as the next exhibit. So the Pure system would be this the smaller pop-up box in the middle here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the customer profile number kind of in the middle near the top?
In the middle near the top?
Yes, ma'am. You see?
Oh, that's the screen where you would put in someone's rewards number. You're talking about right here?
Yes, ma'am. And you can touch
Oh,
it.
oh, look at that.
And then when you're done, you can hit clear if you want to clear it out.
Okay.
High tech in here today.
Crazy.
And so if I was a reward member and asking for a reservation, the agent can enter my number there, and would it populate my information contained on my rewards account?
Yes. It would let us know the member's name, what level reward member they were, and perhaps other information, certainly name, address, phone number, email, all that information would pre-populate so we wouldn't have to enter it.
All right.
And we could recognize the customer when they called.
What is this information here?
This is the information where we would enter what hotel they were inquiring about. So in this case, because the call would have come directly from the hotel. We would know on the phone display, we would have the 5-letter code for the hotel, and we'd enter it right there under property. So we wouldn't ask them what hotel they wanted, because we know they called that hotel, and this is the hotel we should talk to them about. So we would put that under property. We would ask them about the date of arrival, how many nights, how many people in the room, etc., and then we would start to fill in these blanks.
And so just so this is clear, in this example, if the call had come from the Vanderbilt Marriott, Vanderbilt's property code and its name and address would pull up automatically, correct?
That's right.
And then the dates there, I think that says 25 August, 27 August, would those be the dates of stay?
Correct, the arrival and the departure date.
And what are these comments over here on the far right of the screen?
Those are informational fields that would be associated with a particular rate that was confirmed. So in this case, there are auto-generated information to provide the agent, and that can vary by the rate type they book. So this would tell them things like when they could cancel their reservation, if there were a particular deposit required, if it was an advance purchase, or anything special that was happening with that particular rate at that hotel for the dates they booked. And that would be built into the system, and so once you selected that rate, it would automatically provide you that information.
And then if you look here in the middle here, what is this box labeled comments?
Well, what's showing right now under code and comments there is an opportunity for the reservation agent to note anything special. So where you see comments F8, it's really kind of a drop down. When you click that, and then you get the drop down here underneath code here that shows you various code types you can select. And then over here on the right, you can freeform text to put information here that you either want to pass along to the hotel or you want to put into the field of the reservation to document a conversation or something maybe you want the next reservation agent, if they were to access the reservation, to see.
So when you're talking freeform text, you mean someone can actually type in a message in there?
Correct.
And then these codes on the side classify what type of message that is, correct?
That's right.
And then here at the bottom, do you see that where it says Finalize Reservation?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, if you were finished with the reservation, you had selected the dates, the rate, added in any preferences, any comments, put their credit card information in, etc., and you're ready to end the reservation, you would push end, you'd be complete, and then it would get you to a confirmation window where you could confirm the reservation back and give the confirmation number and complete the reservation at that point.
Going back to the comment codes, this appears here to be like a scroll bar.
That's correct.
And so you can scroll down and there's going to be more options for various comment codes, correct?
That's right.
Good. And what is this document?
If you were to select on the first page the Preference tab, this is what it would take you to. And this is where, if someone asked for a particular type of room, we would check these boxes. So as an example, that would be, king bed would be selected here. Again, requested. So you'll notice here, it says non-guaranteed request only. So at this point, we would be asking what their preference is, we'd be noting their preference, and we'd be selecting it. The system would then come back to us and tell us whether we're able to guarantee the bed type or not in that square. Other things that can be requested above in this area include adjoining rooms, connecting rooms, high floor, low floor, pillows, etc. So they're really things that you would like to have to make your stay more comfortable. We would put here on a request basis.
I have a printout of that. We actually kind of got a little ahead of ourselves there. I'd like to make that the next exhibit. So if we're looking at this here, and in the middle of the page you can see a non-guaranteed request. And you can have a non-guaranteed room type, correct? Such
Correct.
as a king bed or a queen bed.
Sure. Be requested, but not at this point guaranteed.
So
Yes.
if you go back to your example, if you had 50 total rooms available for a king, and you're the 51st caller, that's where you would mark that it's a non-guaranteed request, correct?
Actually, you would, regardless of, at this point, our reservation people don't understand how many rooms might or might not be available at a particular bed type. So we would select, king bed here as a request, and then it does go back into the hotel inventory system, and while we're still talking to the customer, it'll come back to us and tell us, no, you requested a king bed. Everybody has to request it initially, right? It would tell you whether there actually is one or there is not one, based on the availability. So we would be able to tell the customer at the point of reservation whether we can guarantee that king bed, or we're just going to continue to keep it on a request and do our best.
What I'd like to mark as Exhibit 20, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Have you seen this document before that's been identified as Exhibit 20?
Yes.
And is this another screenshot of part of the Pure system?
Yes, this is the end reservation screen. So the very last screen we would typically use to access the confirmation number and end the reservation.
Your Honor, I'd like to admit this as Exhibit 20.
Number 20.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So this is going to be, once you've hit end on the previous exhibit, Exhibit 18, you've gotten all the information, now you're going to confirm with the guest what the reservation information is, correct?
That's correct.
And just kind of lead the jury through some of the questions that the agent would go through in order to confirm that all the information is correct.
You're asking me what they would say typically, why they're at the screen ending the reservation?
What are all these fields indicating?
Well, at this point, we would ask them if, typically we automatically send a confirmation, so an email confirmation of the reservation. So if there's an email address already in the system because they're a Merit Rewards member, or we had retrieved that information through the conversation, there'd be an email address here, and then we would let them know this is your confirmation number. We're not to the screen yet where you get the confirmation number, so we would confirm whether we're sending a. This is new. In 2008, there wasn't a text option for confirmations, but there is today. So we would be sending an automatic confirmation of their stay unless they ask us not to, and then we would click send no confirmation. If there was a need at this point to book an additional reservation, you can see on the bottom of the screen here. At that point, we can save everything we just did and then create a second reservation if there was a need to. And then if all of this is correct and we have the confirmation information, we would say okay, and then it would pop up a small box with their confirmation number, and we would give them that number for reference.
And at that point, the reservation is complete.
That's right.
Are you familiar with a former Marriott International call center employee by the name of Takima Baker?
Yes, I'm familiar.
And was she one of the reservation call center agents that worked in the Salon, Ohio call center?
Yes.
How many call agents do you supervise or through other supervisors have responsibility for?
How many agents?
Completely.
Completely, approximately 4,000.
Do you have an idea as to when Ms. Baker's employment with Marriott International ended?
Yes, I believe it ended in 2009.
So more than 7 years ago?
Yes.
Do you use the Pure system?
Yes.
And you use that in your daily employment?
Me personally?
Yes.
I don't use it daily, but I'm very familiar with it. Yes.
And you've maintained that familiarity since 2009, correct?
Yes. And before that, yes.
If Ms. Baker testified that all the information placed in Pure was transmitted to a hotel such as the Vanderbilt Marriott, would that be correct?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Sure. If Ms. Baker testified that all of the information placed into Pure for guest reservation was transmitted to a hotel like the Vanderbilt Marriott, would she be correct?
No. She wouldn't be correct.
What type of information on a reservation made through Pure is communicated to the hotel?
Almost everything is communicated from the system into the front desk system, except when we first saw the ability to put comments on that first screen. The information fields that I noted were to input information about the reservation, to keep it internally on the reservation, and maybe for a future reservation agent to see. There's an opportunity to make a comment in a information other field that goes to the hotel, but the I field, the information, is only for the reservation agents to leave for each other. So that information does not transmit to the front desk. It's the only thing.
If we go back to Exhibit 18 and we're blowing up that scroll bar on the far left here, these are the codes for the comments that you can then add, correct?
That's right.
So you have to classify the comment and then you actually type in the information.
Exactly.
Now, of this list here, which of the codes is the information code or the I field that you just mentioned?
It's the one that says info right here.
Now, is there another mechanism in which a reservation agent in Salon, Ohio, can transmit a code to the hotel, a comment to the hotel?
Yes, and that would be the other right here.
So they're right beside each other.
They are.
If Ms. Baker had put a comment that she intended to send to Vanderbilt Marriott in the info screen, would it have been transmitted to the Vanderbilt Marriott?
If she put it in the info screen, it would not transmit to PMS or to the front desk at the hotel.
if she had done that, would any warning or pop-up occur?
No.
Would she have any way of knowing that she had misclassified a comment unless she in fact caught it?
She would have no way of knowing that. The system wouldn't identify that to her.
What is an example of a type of comment that a reservation agent would use in the info field that would not need to be communicated to the hotel?
I think an example of that would be if a guest called and maybe they ask for a group rate for a particular date, and maybe the group rate is sold out, so the only rate available might be a higher rate, and we confirmed the higher rate, but we knew they were going to call back and possibly ask for the group rate again. We might put in the I field, guest requested group rate not available, so I quoted corporate rate. So that when they call back, we would be able to say, oh yeah, I see that you called yesterday, you talked to Susie, she also let you know the group rate wasn't available, and this is I can offer you the rate that is available. So things like that would be things that we would like to communicate to our colleagues should they call back. So it could be that they were disputing something, it could be that you had a difficult conversation with them and you want to make sure that they, take that into consideration and handle the guest accordingly the next time they call, take care of them. Any information that would be helpful, we would put it in an I field.
And so that would be for internal communications within the Reservation Agent Center there in Salona, Ohio.
Correct. Correct.
And then the other comments would be to transmit information to the hotel.
Exactly.
So a reservation is made, a comment is placed in the info code. The guest comes to check in at the hotel, let's say it's the Vanderbilt Marriott. Would the front desk agent be able to see the comment in the I field?
Front desk agent would not be able to see any comments that were input into the I field.
Would the front desk agent be even able to know whether there was or wasn't a comment in the I field?
No, they would not.
Would a front desk agent have any way to access any comments in the I field during the check-in process?
They would not be able to access that information through the front desk PMS system, no.
Now, you mentioned earlier the Marcia system, and I know the jury's heard that word before a couple of times. Would there be a reason why employees at a hotel would still refer to the Marriott International reservation system as Marcia as opposed to Pure?
Yes. Marcia is really the foundational system. It's the system that has room inventory, houses all of the information that we see in Pure. So Pure was created as kind of an overlay to Marcia so that we have these cool drop-down screens and boxes and it makes it easy to type in a reservation. And when you've got 4,000 people that you need to train and need to learn quickly, teaching them in Marcia, green screen, DOS kind of thing, is just really, really difficult. So we created Pure application to kind of sit on top of Marcia and make it an easier system to use for our people. But it's the same information. So what you see in Marcia is what you see in Pure. Pure is just a much easier way to look at it and way to input information, if that helps.
There's also been testimony about Oscar. What is Oscar?
Oscar is guest history. So Oscar is another system that interfaces with both Marcia Pure and PMS, and it keeps a record of the reservation from beginning, from when it's created, all the changes that may occur in the course of the guest stay, and then once they've left, It's a record of the history of that reservation.
And so it would have been, it's created once the guest is checked out.
That's correct.
And Oscar pulls information both from PMS and from Pure/Marcia.
Exactly.
Will a comment that was placed in an info or an I field in Pure also show up in Oscar?
It will, because again, it's pulling from Pure, so it would pull that here. That doesn't translate to PMS, but it does show in history that it was placed there. Yes.
And you're doing a good job with your hands, but do you think you could draw for us kind of how that works? You want to explain?
So let's say this is Marcia, right? So this is the foundational reservation system that the hotels use, and that is the basis for what we do in Pure, right? So this is really the reservation system.
And
Marcia Pure.
that's Marriott International at that point, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You put an MI next to the Pure.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then if you have the hotel, their system, so front desk system is PMS.
Good.
Okay, this is the system we're booking a reservation in. This is the system they're checking a guest in.
Could you show in which direction the information goes from Pure to PMS?
So information that we put in reservations transfers to PMS.
Okay.
All of it minus the I field doesn't go. Everything else does. And then Oscar, which again is guest history. For every guest who stays in our hotel, a record will be generated of the reservation guest history, and this information comes from Marcia or Pure and from TMS. So at the end of the stay, a new record is generated in our Oscar guest history service system that shows from creation to check out every transaction that happened in these systems and in this system. One complete record.
So Pure is the beginning, PMS is the middle, and Oscar documents the end.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make that drawing the next exhibit. I believe that's 21. And you can see it. Thank you very much. I'd like to shift gears a little bit, talk a little bit about the process by which Marriott International, back in September of 2008, handled calls in which a guest wanted to confirm a reservation. With that in mind, in that time period, again, September, August 2008, would Marriott International handle calls from customers requesting to confirm a reservation at a Marriott-branded hotel? Did those calls occur, is what I'm asking.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. It's a mouthful.
It was.
In August and September of 2008, did the call centers handle calls in which guests wanted to confirm a reservation at a hotel?
Yes.
And how would those calls be handled back in 2008?
Caller would come into our office. We would answer the call, find out where they wanted to stay, what hotel they wanted, what the rate was, and we would make a reservation for them.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a little something different. What if somebody called up and said, hey, I want to confirm that I have a reservation at the Marriott in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, so not to book a reservation, but to confirm
Yes.
a reservation. Sorry. If someone were to call and confirm a reservation, we would ask them if they have a confirmation number, so we can access that information.
And if, in 2008, if that individual did not have a confirmation number, what would be the process by which that call was handled?
Well, if they didn't have a confirmation number, but they had detailed knowledge of the reservation, meaning I'm calling to confirm my reservation for January 1st at the, Nashville Marriott. My last name is Renee. My name is Renee Bonacontri, and I give you that information. I would use judgment and understand that, well, you know all about it. You know what hotel it is. You know what my date of arrival is. You know the last name. I look it up. I find it. I would confirm the reservation back if a guest didn't have a confirmation, but they had detailed knowledge specifically of that reservation.
And that's how those calls would have been handled by Marriott International in its call centers in the fall of 2008.
Yes.
Now, if an individual called up and wanted to know if somebody else was ever going to be staying at the Vanderbilt Marriott, how would the call center handle those?
We wouldn't give out information about that.
And why not?
Because we have an obligation to protect the privacy of our guests. So if someone were to call and say, hey, do you happen to know if this person is staying at this hotel on these dates, we would say, I'm sorry, but that's not information I could provide to you.
And back in the fall of 2008, was it Marriott International's expectations that their franchise branded hotels, such as the Vanderbilt Marriott, would handle those same type of calls in the same way?
Yes.
Now, you said you've been with Marriott International for 31 years, correct?
Yes.
And I assume that's both working for them and as a guest in some of their hotels.
Yes.
Based on your experience in the hotel industry, are there other ways that a person can determine that a guest is staying at a particular hotel other than asking and confirming for a reservation?
Yes. I mean, I think it's very simple to call. I could call a hotel today, and someone could call right now. I'm staying at the Renaissance Nashville. Someone could call right now and say, could I please have Renee Bonacontri's room? And they would be transferred to me.
And is that appropriate?
It is appropriate. My kids call. I hope they do that.
And is that a common occurrence in the hotel industry?
Extremely common, yes.
And is that a service that Marriott International and its branded hotels are providing to their customers?
Yes, I think the customer would have an expectation if they got a phone call that would be transferred to their room unless they requested otherwise.
And you, as a guest of a Marriott hotel, expect those calls to be transferred?
Yes.
What was Marriott International's policy or practice back in September of 2008 regarding requests for connecting or adjoining rooms made by a guest during a reservation?
You're asking me what the policy was for connecting adjoining rooms?
For those requests that were
For
made
requests?
by guests?
Sure. If someone were to call, in 2008, if someone called and asked to have an adjoining or a connecting room, we would go back to that screen where you could check adjoining or connecting. Then we would go to the Other comment field and say Other, so that this transferred to the front desk, and we would say who they would like to connect with or adjoin to.
But if that comment was put in the info code as opposed to the other, it would never get to the hotel.
Right, that would be an error, and it would not get to the front desk.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness to retrieve my marker?
Oh,
Over there.
Oh, perfect.
Okay,
Let me
good.
exactly where it needs to
Okay.
be. Do you mind, Your Honor, if I withdraw on this? Now, Ms. Bonacontri, do you have an idea as between 2005 and 2009 how many reservations Marriott International made?
In that 5-year period,
Yes, ma'am.
approximately 80 million reservations.
They made 80 million reservations in that 4-year period.
That's right.
Out of that nearly 80 million reservations, do you have an idea as to how many of those involved a request for an adjoining or connecting room?
Yes, done some research on that to understand exactly how frequent those are requests, and it's approximately 3% of the calls, or 3% of the reservations would have a request for adjoining or connecting.
You have been working for Marriott International again for 31 years, correct?
Yes.
Now, prior to the actions of Mr. Michael David Barrett that are at issue in this case, had you ever heard of a similar incident arising out of a guest request for an adjoining or a connecting room?
Other than this situation, never. Not once.
Your Honor, I'd like to make that the next demonstrative exhibit for identification purposes.
Number 21.
I believe that's 22, Your Honor. I'd like to hand up, I'd like to mark as the next exhibit, which I believe would be 23. Do you have it before you, ma'am? Okay.
Almost.
I was looking down.
Thank you.
And do you recognize this, I think it's 4 pages of documents?
Yes, I do. This is the Oscar guest history record of Michael Barrett's reservation.
Back in September of 2008. correct?
September 2008, yes.
And have you seen this document before?
Yes, I have.
I'd like to mark this as the next exhibit, Your Honor, admitted into evidence. And this is the document that you're looking at, correct, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
And could you turn to the second page of that document? Now, in the middle of this page, do you see the line that's actually underlined here? Info dash dash guest request room next to Erin Andrews.
Yes.
Based on this document, are you capable of determining whether that information was communicated to the Vanderbilt Marriott Hotel?
Yes, I can tell that this information was input into the reservation system, but because it was put into an I field, info field, it would never have transferred to the front desk system.
And so this indication of info dash dash, what does that mean in regards to the other exhibits that we've looked at this morning?
It means this is internal information that's generated between reservation agents or the reservation system only. It does not translate.
If we were to go back to the earlier exhibits where there's a scroll down menu and you have info as a comment code, this would be the same info here shown in the Oscar form.
Yes. And the guest request to room next to Erin Andrews would have been the free form text that the agent would have written in there.
And if this free-form text had been placed in an S code, would a different code show up in Oscar?
Yes, instead of info right here, it would say other. They would have selected other. And then
Right.
that information that was written or typed in would have translated to the PMS front desk system.
So, and I want to wrap up here. I want to make sure that the jury understands this. So based on your analysis of these documents and your experience, was the notation guest request room next to Erin Andrews communicated through Marriott International's reservation system to the PMS at the National Marriott?
It definitely was not.
And how certain are you that the request was placed in the iField?
100% certain.
And how certain are you that that information was never communicated to the hotel?
I'm 100% certain.
Could the front desk agent that actually checked in Mr. Barrett have seen that request contained in the info screen?
No, they could not have.
And how certain are you that the front desk agent that actually checked in Mr. Barrett could not see that comment?
I'm 100% certain of that.
Pass the witness.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, jury, we'll take a 10 to 15-minute recess.
Do these go? Thank you.